So, on this Garlic Marketing Show, we're going to talk about freeing up your time, maximizing your business development, never missing the emails again. We're going to talk about developing a process for automating responses and having an EA doing it, how to get on more podcasts. I'm one leadership coach that landed some big business by getting on podcasts through an EA, how to use connector networks to drive more leads for referral marketing, have that automated through an EA, and the three factors to find that perfect EA, especially if you're running EOS. I've got Kyle Walburn from Efficient Aide. Kyle, say hi.
Hello.
And don't forget, this is brought to you by videocasestory.com. One of the best ways to market is to use your customer stories. You get your EA to send it to prospects, send it to cold emails, send it everywhere, put it everywhere. Go to videocasestory.com where we can help you collect, craft, and create that strategy that your EA can implement with Kyle. All right, let's get started.
My name is Gino Wickman. I was introduced to Ian, and that's what brought me into this video world and got me embracing this video world. And Ian did exactly what I hoped. He got me really comfortable with putting videos out to the world and having a great strategy around putting videos out to the world, because there's so much more than just shooting a video. And so the way that he positions those videos, optimizes those videos, he's done a great job.
All right. And Kyle, tell us a little bit about what Efficient Aide does.
Yeah, you bet. So in short, at the highest level, Efficient Aide is in the business of working with business leaders to buy back their time and eliminate their worry. That's the highest level. And we solve that kind of in three different ways. Our main option is we provide fractional virtual assistant services. Hey, you need 10, 15, 20 hours a week, get you out of the weeds, buy back your nights and weekends, get all that admin stuff off your plate. In addition, for folks that say, hey, Kyle, I actually need a full-time in-person assistant, we'll go out and find them for you so you can directly hire them. Last but certainly not least, hey, Kyle, I already have an assistant, but I want to up-level them. We also offer tailor-made training programs one-on-one for folks that already have an assistant. So really, we're your assistant solution. Whether you need one, you have one, or you need to train them, we have your back on that.
And you do a lot with EOS and EOS implementers, which I think is a value proposition to itself, because it's training a team on EOS is a whole nother level. But all of your people are trained up on like level 10 meetings and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we run on EOS. It's really ingrained in our culture. We've been running on EOS for about 5 years now. We work with EOS implementers, and we also work with a lot of companies that are running on EOS. So our folks are really plugged into that community. We play in that sandbox. We know the jargon, we know the process. So we plug in really well to folks that are also running on EOS. So they don't have to reinvent that wheel and train them. We can plug right in with some proactive measures to support EOS leaders.
There's the whole history of the company. I won't get into how you got into this. But when you get into a small company, I think a lot of people think of EAs as, or even virtual assistants, however you want to call it. We like calling them remote workers because I think when you call them virtual assistants, people think of them as like robots, and they're people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I want to talk today a little bit about business development and how people use this in marketing and sales, because I think a lot of people think of sales and they're like, oh, it's so much work, because I think that they're thinking of all the follow-up and all the marketing and all the tactics that they have to do. But you really can have a virtual person really run most of your sales for you, can't you?
Absolutely. It's a huge area that people don't think of. And that's one of the big perks that we're trying to accomplish here at Efficient Aide, is truly be that Swiss Army knife. So not only someone who can do the admin tasks, check your email, book your flights, schedule your appointments, but also someone who can do some more strategic level work, like you mentioned, like help with business development. And what we find is there's three main big challenges that our leaders face with sales and business development, right? Is time. They're darn busy. Who has the time to actually spend time to do the outreach, do the follow through, right? The next biggest issue is proactive versus reactive. Like, we're all familiar where business is going great. So you're doing no biz dev activities, and all of a sudden, boom, a client has a financial problem. They got to fall off. Things happen, and you're like, whoa. And then you're doing that reactive approach. Your EA, which I'll talk about, can be doing things behind the scenes. So you're always keeping engaged with your connectors and your network. So when you reach those points, it's okay. We have a healthy pipeline. And then the last big challenge is follow through, right? A lot of the leaders we work with, they're visionaries. They're living in the clouds. They're focusing 5 years down the road. That's fantastic. but they're not the best on follow through. If we get them on a call one-on-one, they're fantastic. But as soon as that call is over, they're on to the next thing. And all right, are the notes in the CRM? Do we have follow-up actions associated? What did we promise this person? And are we actually following through getting them done? And EA can help with all of these challenges in a variety of different ways.
I know I do that too. I'm so excited to help the person. And then, especially if you have back-to-back meetings, you have 3 meetings in a row. And it's like by the third one, it's like, oh, I forget my name, much less what I told this person I'm going to do. And we record it and everything. And we try and do everything, but this is huge. And so you've had some successes around this. Can you tell me a little bit about the successes you've had with people doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of main areas that we see a lot of success in. One is keeping conversations moving forward. It's pretty natural for us to always do inbox management for our clients, right? You're in those back-to-back meetings all day. Who's keeping an eye where if that really warm lead comes in, who's the one that's going to make sure they get high customer service right away? So we build in processes with our clients where we can not only email on their behalf, so they're getting a prompt reply, or we build in processes to say, hey, this is Kyle emailing on behalf of Ian. He's in sessions today, but rest assured, I got this email flagged. I'll make sure he gets back to you immediately. Or oftentimes a warm lead comes in and they want to set up a call. Well, instead of waiting multiple days when a leader's head's finally above water and they're checking their email, which usually is in the nights or on a weekend, we have processes set up to write back as Ian and say, hey, Kyle, thanks so much for reaching out. I'd love to chat with you about doing business together. I've copied my EA, Sam, in. He'll make sure to get us time on the calendar. And it's essentially the EA writing as the EA to themselves. And we've seen a lot of success of that. We'll have a client who is in back-to-back meetings, like you mentioned, Ian, all day for multiple days. And they finally come up for air and their EA is sitting there saying, hey, Ian, I hope your meetings went well. Hey, by the way, a couple warm leads came in. I addressed them. They're on your calendar for next week, Tuesday. I put the notes in your calendar of who you're meeting with, their website, their LinkedIn, and I blocked 30 minutes before those calls to make sure you have some time to prep. Now that's the magic, right? And then our client, wow, all this work was done. All they have to do is do what they're great at doing. Show up, deliver high value to the client. And then what's great is right after they get off that call, we have processes built in where they can just send a quick audio message. Hey, Kyle, just met with Sam, great prospect. Here are all the notes. Boom, within 2 minutes, they've cascaded all those messages to the EA. They're on their next meeting. The EA puts it in the CRM, make sure there's to-dos and follow-up actions associated with it. And it's as simple as that. And we see a lot of our clients are getting more business leads, more sales calls, and they're ultimately converting more sales strictly based on that attention to detail of follow-through that the EA completely manages for them.
So you've had some specific success stories, though. I'd love for you to share 1 or 2 of those, because I think it sounds great, but I don't think you realize what this can do for a business.
Yeah, you bet. I got lots of great examples, but one specific example is we support a solopreneur and he needed some help with his biz dev effort. So what he said is, hey, one biz dev effort I'd like to do is I want to get on more podcasts. Okay, here's my target audience. Here's where I thrive in. We helped as EA, we build them the pitch. So we have a short blurb. We figure out who these target podcasts are. We're able to go ahead. We're doing behind the scenes. We're outreaching on behalf of that solopreneur and pitching him to be on a podcast. So finally, without any work on his end, we get him booked on a leadership podcast. It's the exact target audience. We booked some time with him. We prepped him. He shows up, delivers high value in that podcast. And you wouldn't believe it. Next morning, gets an email. Hey, saw you on that podcast. You caught me at the right time. I'm struggling with some of my leadership on my team and accountability. He's a leadership coach. The EA jumped in, not only saw that email, booked him on the sales call, ended up converting him to a 6-month engaged client directly on the spot as a result of it. Our client had to do, show up to the podcast and do the call. And that was a direct result of where 95% of the work was done by the EA. 5% was just the client showing up and was able to gain a client out of it. That's one very specific example of this. Another great example is something that we commonly do. And in EOS, they call your connectors, your connector network. Who are the people that are in your network that you refer business to? We build a connector strategy saying, all right, Ian, you come to me and say, hey, Kyle, I want to make sure that I connect with at least 2 of my connectors every week. We build that list in the CRM. We have them tagged. I'm doing all the outreach, trying to get you on those calls. And it's all about staying top of mind. So without any work on your end, I say, hey, Ian, one of your connectors, he's a CFO. You know him well. He's on the schedule for Thursday. We had a client who went on. We booked the connector call. It happened to be a CFO. They share very similar target audiences. He said, great timing. You're top of mind for me today. I just met with a client this morning that is a perfect fit for you. Stay top of mind, bridge the introduction. Our client got on a call with the prospective client the next day, and they ended up selling a deal to them and are working with them on one coaching. And those are just a few very specific examples. And quite frankly, Ian, we're seeing this every day with the clients we're working with.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people hear this and they're like, okay, I want to do this. So obviously the shortcut is hiring you. But if, let's say, we're hiring someone to train you, but if they're planning to do this themselves and they've got a EA or they want to hire someone local, they think they want to hire someone full time, what are the keys to finding the right person to do this for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, I boil it down to 3 major factors. Personality, right? You got to get along with the person. And we use Colby, and there's all sorts of personality indexes out there. There's Colby, Myers-Briggs, DISC. You got to make sure that you're a personality match, right? You're going to spend a lot of time with them. So first and foremost, get clear on those personality indexes so you're a right match from a personality standpoint. Second, you need to make sure that they're also a core values fit. When EOS, that is a huge component. If you're running on EOS, you have a VTO, a Vision Traction Organizer, and it lists your company's core values. You need to make sure the person you're working with has not only your organization's core values, but also your individual core values. The last aspect of it is just getting very clear on scope of work. In EOS, they have a tool called the Delegate and Elevate tool, where you can ultimately put a piece of paper on your desk, you jot down everything you do that week, and you put it in different quadrants based on what you love and you're great at doing, all the way down to what you're not good at doing and you don't like doing. That's a great tool to determine, hey, what are the things that I can delegate? You need to have a clear scope of work because ultimately you need a match based on personality, based on values, but you need a match with an assistant based on someone who has the direct experience doing the tasks that you want to accomplish. It makes the ramp up extremely smooth and allows them to provide immediate value. And there's lots of resources out there, like you mentioned, Ian. We're one of many to guide people through this process. But I'd say those are the 3 big pieces. Make sure they're a personality match, they're a core values match, and make sure they have the direct experience and bandwidth to be able to accomplish your scope of work. So fine-tuning that scope of work is critical in this equation. You got to know what you want to delegate.
What I like about what you're talking about too is there's so many marketing tasks that I tell people to do, and separating out this idea of someone to run the stuff, and then you can have a marketing advisor or marketing strategist, someone else part-time or whatever to help you with it. Because I think a lot of people think that they're going to find the marketing strategist and the person to do all this stuff and do inexpensive all in one. And that's not the case.
No, absolutely not. There's people have expertise for a reason. And we plug in really well with folks that are leveraging outside marketing services. We would never say that we're marketing experts, but we can contribute to that marketing plan, right? We may not be the one coming up with all the strategic initiatives, but we're the ones that will, one, make sure that the vendors are getting the info they need. There's accountability. And when you meet with that marketing expert and they say, here are the deliverables we need from you so we can be successful, that EA can middleman that to make sure that things are missed and they're delivering that. Or oftentimes we have high-level people build the strategy, build the plan, and then the EA can go in and execute that plan. So we plug in really well to that. And then the last part, Ian, is of course, like we mentioned earlier, a big problem for business leaders is time. Hey, yeah, I'd love to hire a marketing team, but I don't have time to meet with them. I don't have time to do all this. Delegate a lot of your tasks to an EA. You'll suddenly realize you have a lot more time than you think to focus on those higher level strategies.
Yeah. And I think that there's an added bonus to that with working with someone like yourself, that it's not hiring someone, it's a hit or miss proposition, isn't it? Even if you do all the Colby, you do everything, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And 30% of the time, it's supposed to like work perfectly. And so you got 60%, it's like batting, right? But when you don't have the right systems in place to fill that gap, then you have a lot of problems in between, don't you?
Absolutely. And you nailed it on the head, Ian. Hiring, as a lot of people know, it's laborious, it's time consuming, right? So when you work with an agency such as us, we're one of many folks providing the service, we take all that off your plate. You just have to say, hey, Kyle, here's what my pain points are. Here's what I need done. And all that back end work, we've been doing it for over a decade. So we've already done all the hard work. We just need to match you with the right person. And then, of course, sometimes it doesn't work out like you mentioned. But hey, when you work with an agency, it's okay because we have redundancy. We're documenting processes. So at some point, Ian, you come to me and say, hey, I'm not really grooving on my EA. No problem at all. We get feedback. We can slide in a new person and they come prepared with a playbook from the previous EA. So you're never losing that coverage versus you hire directly, you lose the person, they're not a fit. You're back to square zero. Post a job again, interviewing again, which is extremely time consuming.
It costs money. It costs, I'd say, a few dollars. And that's the reason I brought Sean too, is because I want people to realize, because yes, you can go hire someone in the Philippines for $3-4 an hour. I've done that many times. And then it's 6 months later, I've been through 5 people. They've disappeared 10 times. And I got none of the work done. And now I even have more work because I'm cleaning up their messes. And I think it's one of those things that people need to think about different. I think this is a great blend of agency, effectiveness, costs, and also I think it's on running EOS. It's so important. And coming to the EOS piece, offshore operating system, if you folks don't know it, I think it's a great business system. I'm biased. We've worked with Gino, we've worked with Mark Winters, we've worked with a lot of EOS people like yourself. But how does the EA help you run EOS, especially an EOS marketing plan, even better?
Yeah, it's a great question. And really it boils down to what a big factor of EOS is: accountability and then follow through. And that's where that EA can really plug into that. In EOS, you come with to-dos every week. You have issues, you have rocks. And if you're back to back all day, every day, you don't have time to get those to-dos done. You don't have time to focus on those higher level priorities. So here at Efficient Aide, since we understand the value of the level 10 meeting that you do each week with the leadership team in those rocks, we proactively can plug in and make sure you have time to actually work on those rocks. We can proactively say, hey, Ian, your level 10 meeting is tomorrow with the team. You have some to-dos from the last meeting that are not done, but rest assured, I've already helped you with a few of them, and I have some time blocked this afternoon for you to fine tune them. So we plug in directly into that. And also with marketing. In EOS, you have a very firm marketing plan that's on your vision traction organizer. So it allows your EA to plug into that plan, understand what the uniques are, the target audiences, and drive those initiatives forward, or have the accountability for the people who are in charge of that to make sure that they have the time and the resources to do their expertise and execute that plan. But really it boils down to us is really that accountability and a solid framework to make sure when we set goals, they're met.
And I think you said something really important too, that I've seen the best people that run with EAs and VAs and remote people do is their most valuable team members. They also give them EA, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can delegate, use the delegate and elevate up and down the organization, right? Or the accountability chart, they call it in EOS. We're all doing things right now that we either don't like doing or we're not the best at doing, or it's not the highest and best use of our time. For example, we all have an inbox. Most of us all stink and do not like at checking it. Delegate that, right? Especially when you're at a leadership team level. It's craziness to me when I have a leader come to me and say, hey, Kyle, I spend about 5 to 7 hours a week just checking my emails and filtering junk. And if I told you, hey, I'm going to just buy you back 7 hours every week like this, just think what you could do to grow your business or what you could do to progress your rocks or dive even further into EOS. It's truly life-changing and powerful stuff.
And also with that 7 hours, if you're going through filtering email, this is what we talked about before, it gets easy to miss that big, like at the top of the call, you miss that big one. And then not only are you in the junk and you spent the 7 hours, but you miss the one that's going to make you a lot of money or keep your client get happy. And that cost of that is just invaluable, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And that's where it goes back to truly the highest level, the purpose, our cause, our passion at Efficient Aide is to buy back your time. You're not checking the emails anymore. We bought back your time and we've eliminated your worry because now you're not worried about missing that one email anymore because you know your EA is dialed in. They're high attention to detail. They're not only flagging those important emails, they're not only nudging you to make sure you follow up on them if they can, they're also having the accountability to check the next day to see, hey, I told Ian that big email sitting there the following day to go, did Ian actually do it or not? And then give him the nudge to make sure nothing ever falls through the cracks.
So
That's
valuable.
common with most of our clients.
Yeah, it's so valuable. I'm lucky I have a team that does that. And it transforms your ability to market. It transforms your ability to do business development, to do sales, to get all this stuff done and do the best thing, which is talking to your clients and referral partners. And that's fantastic. And they can do other stuff too. Run your LinkedIn and other things too, right?
Absolutely. And touching on your previous point, we buy back all these leaders' time so they can focus on those higher level strategic initiatives, working with your marketing vendor, building marketing and strategic plans. But here's also the beautiful part about it. You know what you can do with all that time we bought back? Absolutely nothing. You can do nothing with it. You know what you can do? You can spend time with your family. You can meet up with your friends. You can pursue a hobby because we know when we're sharp mentally, we're also able, it indirectly will contribute to you being professionally smarter as well. You can take it to buy it back to grow your business, or you take it back to finally get out of the office at 6 p.m. for once, or not have to work on a weekend. You can recharge. You could do personal or professional development, read a book, or finally get those 90-day priorities, those rocks done for the first time. And that's really powerful. And that's really what drives us. Now, to touch on your other question, absolutely. You can have your EA. We have EAs right now that are going in and checking on LinkedIn profiles. We are liking articles and posts on behalf of our clients. We're engaging with clients. We're viewing profiles, so we're showing top of mind. We're running nurturing campaigns, connection requests, and nurturing to make sure we're staying in touch.
And it's all stuff you should be doing. And I think then getting it out of the back of your mind clears so much up too. So when you have that free time, you feel like you actually have free time. So I know I have that. Oh yeah, I'm taking this time off, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh man, I got this whole pile of stuff to do.
Yeah.
And your mind's there instead of with your kids or at dinner or enjoying the life that you've worked so hard to get. I think that's absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's running in the background, right? It's no involvement. You set the plan with your EA and you tell them to go do it. So while you're out golfing with friends or spending time with the family, in the background, there's activity always happening. There's connections, there's meeting requests, and there's a lot of peace of mind knowing you don't always have to be plugged into work because you're EA. You can focus on your family or other things because behind the scenes, things are still happening. And that's really important.
Awesome. Efficient Aide, we'll put a link to everything in the show notes. Where's the best place to follow you, Kyle?
Yeah, best place. So you can visit our website. It's EfficientAide.com. And it's EfficientAide.com. Definitely the best spot. Also happy if anybody wants to reach out to me directly. You'll find I'm an open book. I love connecting with business leaders, and that's just Kyle at EfficientAide.com. Would love to connect truly as just a help first. Non-sales, you have a question, concern, let's hop on, let's chat about it. I truly love helping business leaders buy back their nights and weekends.
Awesome. We'll put a link to the show notes. Kyle, this has been fantastic. Thanks for being on the Garlic Marketing Show.
Thanks for having me, Ian. I really appreciate it.
And thanks for taking Kyle and I on your journey. This has been Ian Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.